Over the last 8 years, we have done so many 3-point lighting setups, and honestly, we got a bit lazy creatively. If you spent time watching filmmaking content online, you've probably heard of people talking about the Netflix look. Soft lighting, even exposure, and a very clean, polished image. And personally, I think a lot of that comes from a younger generation breaking into Hollywood with YouTube University as their teacher. And hey, I can't knock it. I learned most of what I know from YouTube as well. But here's the thing, on YouTube, they don't teach you how to be different really. You don't learn how to break out of the clean, polished, professional mold, or how to create something that's unmistakably your own. But that's all over now, because switching into commercial advertising has completely changed that. Suddenly, we had a chance to push ourselves creatively again, through spec ads and commercial projects. Now we're really trying to break out of that classic Netflix look, because for this project that we're going to show you, that just would not work. No more playing it safe, no more being boring creatively. We wanted to make images that feel alive, realistic, nostalgic, something with its own flavor, and that leaves an impression. Later in this video, I talk about the mindset shift that led us to stop following trends and start experimenting and rediscover our own creative voice. Our director Arthur is also going to join us, who thankfully did go to film school and knows a thing or two about creating that nostalgic feel. He's going to share his take on how we can move away from the Netflix look and back into something more relatable.
On paper, income doesn't qualify.
A new local client needed a national online ad to stand out in their industry. They wanted something that was different and told a story. Instead of soft light and perfect balance, we started leaning towards something more traditional. We chose harder light, stronger contrast, and wider lenses that actually show the environment we're creating for the characters. We wanted images that feel less perfect, but more real.
You really made this look easy.
Older films do a great job of embracing imperfection. You saw shadows, you saw texture. Light didn't feel controlled, it felt natural. It felt like it belonged in the world that you were in. And that's what we were chasing. Now, to be honest, the reality on any set is always creative vision versus budget constraints. And I'll admit, we didn't fully get everything we wanted, but you know what? We loved what we did end up getting. We blasted a couple of the Aputure 600Ds into the windows from a stairwell outside the building to give us a consistent sunlight throughout the day. I would have loved to have pushed this even further using Fresnels and shaping the light more intentionally, but with the budget and the amount of time we had to complete all the set deck we needed to do, we really had to move quick, so it just wasn't going to be realistic. Now, if this was a ground floor studio, something I would have done is probably put the lights further away and let more undiffused light spill naturally into the scene. But being on the 7th floor, this meant that the lights had to be on the stairwell outside. Being that close without the diffusion, the reflector dishes would have created some strange shadows being so close to the set. Even with those compromises, focusing on the principles of light, contrast, and composition let us create something that felt real, dynamic, and cinematic. It reminded us that powerful images aren't just about having every tool, they're about understanding how to use what you do have to tell the story the way it needs to be told. By the way, if you are enjoying business and filmmaking content like this, subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment with any questions you have.
Growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, one of the biggest changes I personally noticed in film was how much the camera moved. Every year, movies felt more like cinematic and flashy, but a little less grounded, less immersive as the years went on. I noticed I wasn't being necessarily pulled into the environment or the characters anymore. I was just kind of being entertained by them. Now, when I went to film school like over a decade ago, everything was completely different. It was literally tripods, tungsten lights like 20 feet away from your subject, and maybe the occasional dolly shot used sparingly, but with purpose. Everything else had to live in the scene. If the scene without the camera didn't hold up on its own, like you felt it. And it was drilled into my brain that if you couldn't nail the scene in a single wide master on a locked off tripod, the scene sucked and it needed to be better. Now, obviously that's a little extreme, but like you get the idea. The camera wasn't the main storyteller here. The scene itself was. The props, the set dressing, the cast, the dialogue, all of it mattered a ton. And the camera's job was to just capture it, not steal the show. And so every decision to move the camera was intentional in service of the story, not just because it looked cool. Now, with all that being said, The project that we did here, it wasn't a movie or a short film, it was a commercial. And commercials, they gotta grab your attention and they gotta keep you engaged. And so how do you kind of balance these two ideas? And honestly, it's quite simple. It's intentionality. A whip pan to reveal a new character shifts the viewer's attention and the scene. A push-in emphasizes, intensity, or it can even add a comedic punch to a moment or a line. High angles make a character feel small or unsure of themselves, and low angles, that classic hero shot, makes them feel important. A cutaway to a montage reveals new information to the viewer, and it heightens the energy and the pacing of a moment. Every move serves a purpose beyond just style. It serves the story. And hey, I'll be honest, Netflix lighting trends were really exciting 10 years ago, and it still kind of is for me. The soft light, the cinematic movements, the close-ups, it all looked amazing. And even after years of learning the old-fashioned way, I jumped on that bandwagon immediately too. It was what everybody else was doing, and honestly, it worked. And again, it looked cool. And I'm not saying that we're gonna throw all that out. Those tools still have an important place, depending on the project and the client's goals. But what this project did for us is reminded me, at least, why the traditional approach still exists. And there's a reason that it was done that way for literally decades. It's nostalgic, it's grounded, and ultimately it's irreplaceable. And there's a reason those films feel so alive and natural, and that's not something a trend can ever replace. And so what we're doing is we're pulling techniques from both approaches to create a style that's novel.
That shift in style changed how we approach everything else. If we were going to shoot wider, the set actually had to matter. So we went all in on set design. This was one of the most design-heavy sets we've ever built. We wanted it to feel like a retro timepiece, something inspired by the 60s but still grounded with a modern touch. The client loved it and said it exceeded their expectations. The space felt real, it felt lived in, and it supported the story. Even the actors noticed it. They told us it was one of the best sets they've worked on. And that was so encouraging because it meant that the environment we crafted was doing its job. Our mood boards and 3D renders really did help a lot here. We could see the vision before we ever stepped on set. That kept everyone aligned and made the building process so much faster. We shot the entire commercial on the Laowa 12mm. And that wasn't just a technical decision, it was a storytelling one. We actually really wanted deep focus here. We wanted the audience to see everything, not just the subject, but the world around them. The wider lens let us do that. Now, a lot of people say that the 40 to 50mm lens best replicates the natural eye. But the thing with that field of view is you lose all of your peripheral vision. Shooting wide feels immersive because it lets you take in so much more context and environment in the frame. It adds visual interest that feels both familiar, like how we experience the real world, but at the same time slightly unnatural through the angles and composition we chose. That combination keeps the shots intriguing while still feeling real. The Laowa 12mm also let us experiment more with movement and framing. We wanted the shots to feel different than what you normally see. And because of that, these images we got felt more expressive and intentional. It felt like the world we were trying to build. Of course, none of this happens without planning. We've never taken pre-production more seriously than we did on this project. We did everything from brainstorming to mood boards, 3D renders, scripting, shot listing, location and tech scouting, casting, and gear and prop pickup. Even then, it still didn't feel like enough. There's a reason why productions spend weeks or months of planning before day one of production. Every step and every choice contributes to the final image feeling intentional and true to the overall vision. Looking back, this project wasn't just about lighting or lenses. It was about breaking out of a mindset. It's easy to copy what works, to follow trends, and to stay safe. But safe work rarely stands out. For us, this was a step towards something more intentional. Mixing old and new, taking risks, and trying things that might not work out perfectly. Because that's how you start to find your own style. If your work feels like everything else, it probably is. And that's not a skill problem, that's a creative one. At some point, you have to stop copying and start experimenting. Try something different, push your lighting, change your lenses, let your frames breathe. Not everything will work, but over time, that's how your work starts to feel like your own. And that's the goal, something that actually feels original. And there's a big lesson in here. If your work looks like everyone else's, there's no reason to choose you. That was something we had to face honestly. There are a lot of talented filmmakers out there and a lot of people who know how to light well, compose a frame, and use the same tools we do. So the question then becomes, what actually sets you apart? Why should a client hire you instead of the person next to you who can deliver something that looks almost identical? For us, the answer isn't just quality, it's perspective and it's style. It's how something feels when you watch it. We don't want to just create work that looks good, we want to create work that feels like us. Work that people can recognize, work that people remember, and work that clients come to us specifically for. Not because we're available, but because they want that look, they want the novel look. When your work blends in, you're not being chosen based on intention, you're kind of being chosen based on chance, and that's not a position we want to put ourselves in. With that in mind, moving forward, we're going to be a lot more intentional. We're going to experiment more, take more creative risks, and try things that might not work, not just for the sake of being different, but to figure out what actually resonates with us, what we're passionate about, and how we can bring something unique to the people we work with. Because at the end of the day, that's the goal, not to follow a look, but to build one. If you're a filmmaker and you feel like your work is starting to blend in, here's our encouragement. Don't just copy what you see, study it and learn from it, then push past it. Try something new, break your own patterns, and take a risk on something that feels more like you. Because the work that stands out is the work that feels unique. And the only way to start making unique work is to stop copying and do your own thing. Now, I'm guessing you like business and cinematography content like this, so subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment with any questions you have. All right, have a great day and see you in the next one.